A certain man named his daughter after the project he created, a project that soon after turned to ashes and swallowed tens of billions of dollars of investors' savings worldwide. Today this man is wanted by Interpol, and thousands of those affected still ask, how could this have gone unnoticed? How could one person create an illusion worth billions? And how did that illusion turn into one of the greatest financial disasters of our time? Fasten your seatbelts, because the story of Terra Luna is much more than just the fall of a cryptocurrency. It's a tale of human greed, shattered lives, and arrogance that cost people absolutely everything. Enjoy the video. First of all, I would like you to step into the shoes of the hero of a short story. We'll go back in time, specifically to early May of 2022, when you could observe the greatest crash of the Luna cryptocurrency. In your portfolio, you hold one altcoin in which you invested your whole life savings for some weird reason, over $120,000. After a tough day at work, you're browsing the exchange and get shocked when you see that the purchased cryptocurrency dropped over 60% in value. That's the basic nature of such investments. They either go up or go down. You think long term, so you stay calm. You learn that the cause of the drops is the sudden collapse of one cryptocurrency, Terra Luna, which lost 90% of its highest value, dropping from $100 to just $10. You hope the project will somehow defend itself, and you think you now have a unique opportunity to invest in the dip so you can profit later. Well, here you make your first mistake. You make a bold decision to transfer funds from your first cryptocurrency to Luna. After all, at that time, Terra Luna was one of the top crypto projects. Over 50,000, everything left from the first failed investment you put into Luna. The next morning brings you quite a shock. The cryptocurrency's value has plummeted from $10 to just over 80 cents, only to settle later at $1. So in less than 48 hours, you've lost about $100,000. But that's not the end. Surely it can't be that bad, right? Now you make your second bad decision. You involve your girlfriend and her life savings. You both lose more money by the day, watching as Luna hits its absolute rock bottom. Of your digital $120,000, not even a single dime remains. And all of that within 72 hours. That's where we end our little screening. If you felt chills down your spine at how easy it is to lose your life savings, you're not alone. And this story is real. One of the victims shared it on YouTube as a cautionary tale.
I am one of those who made the terrible mistake of losing my life savings on one crypto that basically now has become worthless.
In fact, he's not the only one, as on many internet platforms you can read horrifying stories of people losing all of their money. Sometimes they lost even their homes and fell into serious debt, and they can't face their families out of pure embarrassment. Some of these people are contemplating on taking their own lives. In short, Luna's collapse meant a lot of trouble for many people. But was it a bad time for everyone? Certainly, there were investors who foresaw this outcome and took advantage of it. There are many examples like this, and one of them is Rafał Zaorski. He closely watched the market during the Luna crash, making a series of decisions that gave him profit, streaming the whole process. Zaorski was shorting Luna, gaining from the falling value of Terra's cryptocurrencies.
To będzie epickie, patrzcie to. Czekam, patrzę, dobra.
He earned millions that way and then bought one of the most expensive studio apartments in Warsaw at Złota 44. Many people now ask a different question. Are Luna investors themselves to blame? After all, they themselves made the choices they made. Was it ignorance? Maybe no one explained to them how foolish it is to gamble down to the last penny in your wallet. Greed? Or maybe it was the project's poor structure, the emergence of competition, a risky attack on Luna that could either sink it or strengthen unearthing it? Or is it the culprit of one of the creators who based his strategy on a Ponzi scheme and publicly flaunted his arrogance on Twitter? So many questions, and they're just the tip of the iceberg. It's also worth noting that to this day the case remains mainly open, as the mastermind behind it all has yet to stand trial. We're talking about none other than South Korean citizen Do Kwon. To fully understand the entire Terra Luna saga, it's necessary to get a closer look at this anti-hero's profile. Charismatic and extremely intelligent. That's how the creator of Terra ecosystem is described by his close colleague Chris Amani, now the former CEO of already liquidated Terraform Labs. Do Kwon was even recognized by Forbes' 30 under 30 list. There is a theory that people who have had the honor of appearing on this list or on the magazine's cover often attract, well, some unpleasant events. Unless someone actually likes being in prison, then I guess that's fine. Take Sam Bankman-Fried, creator of the FTX platform, as one such negative example from Forbes' list. Once considered an ambitious businessman with a significant success story, he's now awaiting sentencing for stealing $10 billion from his clients. He'll likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. Prison, however, is not the only thing that's happened to the victims of this so-called curse. Pavala Pere was a businesswoman who at the age of 21 founded EcoMap Technologies, a startup responsible for AI that assists in customer service. In 2023, Pava appeared on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. Tragically, however, in September of the same year, she was murdered in her own apartment by Jason Billingsley, previously charged with sexual offenses. Thus, we return again to Do Kwon, who in 2019 appeared on this Forbes list. What is his fate now? Certainly it isn't looking too good for him, but we'll get back to that shortly. Do Kwon, for a brief period, acquired his knowledge and experience at tech giants like Apple and Microsoft, but being just a small cog in the vast world of technology wasn't enough for him. He had ambitions for something of his own, on his own terms. He spotted the idea of stablecoins on someone else's project, cryptocurrencies mirroring the value of real money such as the dollar. The concept appealed to him enough that he teamed up with Daniel Shin to form Terraform Labs. They quickly secured support from 15 e-commerce companies to further develop the project. However, progress was difficult due to Do Kwon's personality. Alongside many qualities that definitely helped him as a leader, he had serious flaw. He was a narcissistic jerk. He often yelled at his employees, which is hardly conducive to growth, and certainly you wouldn't want a boss like that. This led to mass resignations, sometimes even legal disputes. Consequently, Do Kwon ended up practically alone, with a free hand to make key decisions only by himself. Decisions that would later drag Luna into one big hole. It's also worth mentioning the Twitter, or X, call it what you will, angle. This whole crypto app community abides by its own rules, a bit like gorillas in the jungle. Whoever roars loudest or puffs their chest out the most calls the shots. The same applies on Twitter, where crypto fans don't shy away from strong words and epithets. They don't fear tough opinions and big money. As it turned out, for Do Kwon, it was the perfect opportunity to present himself there as a complete buffoon. Flaunting money was an everyday occurrence for him, and he often called other users poor. What exactly did Kwon write there? Listen closely.
Serious question. Where is this 300 million coming from?
Your mom, obviously. Self-correction mechanisms that rely on financial incentives do not work when panicking humans are stampeding for the exit. I don't debate the poor on Twitter, and sorry I don't have any change on me for her at the moment. Statistically, this community bought Luna, so they definitely are not poor as your broke ass. Continue in poverty, sir. I don't gamble against the poor. Have fun staying poor.
The paradox is there's a speculation that Do Kwon's posts may have contributed to pushing Terra up. As I said, Twitter has its own set of rules, and our antagonist did it the best, if you can even put it that way. However, if that short presentation gave you a headache, fear not, because karma is a bitch. One example is a bet between Do Kwon and Twitter users who predicted Luna's downfall. One user even offered $1 million, claiming that within a year from that point, Luna's valuation would be lower than it was then. Another user upped the stakes by an additional $10 million, and Do Kwon agreed. The money went into escrow with someone known as Kobe. This situation occurred in March of 2022, less than 2 months before Luna's total collapse. The bet didn't even last a quarter of the year. Do Kwon got high on his own pride and arrogance, losing a massive amount of money, at least massive for your average person. In crypto circles, people say that Luna, for better or for worse, was extremely important to its creator. Not without reason. When Do Kwon's daughter was born in April of 2022, he named her, guess what? Luna, explaining, "My dearest creation, named after my greatest invention." Imagine how that girl must feel today carrying the name of such a huge scandal. Of course, we wish her all the best. Back to the cryptocurrency though, after Luna crashed, it didn't take long for Kwon to announce a 2.0 version of the project. The team planned what's called a hard fork, splitting the blockchain into a new chain that follows new rules. Do Kwon moved quickly, so on May 28, 2022, Terra 2.0 was launched. And that's it? Problem solved? Now we can play Minecraft again? Well, not quite. Here's where the pretty story of a successful entrepreneur ends, and where the plot thickens into something straight out of some TV show about hunting fugitives. After Luna's collapse, both the United States and South Korea began digging around, alleging the concealment of potential risks from investors involved with the project. In September, South Korea issued an arrest warrant for Do Kwon, who was no longer in the country. He claimed that he moved to Singapore just before Luna's collapse. Maybe he knew something was up, or maybe he fled after Terra's demise, we can only guess. Singaporean authorities denied Kwon's presence in their country. He was there, now he's gone. Do Kwon was even served with an Interpol red notice, i.e. international arrest warrant and extradition request. That didn't stop this Korean from pretending like nothing was happening. He insisted no one was chasing him and even said he'd just came back from the mall. On his Twitter, he even offered to hang out with the police, inviting politicians to a meetup, offering to buy them plane tickets so they could drop by his happy get-together. Apparently, once you make yourself look like a jerk, you'll stay that way until the end of your 15 minutes of fame. One statement indicated Kwon had made it all the way to Serbia, supposedly evidenced by withdrawals from a crypto wallet connected to him made via Bitcoin ATMs. In February of 2023, the US Securities and Exchange Commission charged Terraform Labs with securities fraud. Through his lawyers, Do Kwon tried to dismiss these allegations. He claimed that interpreting his tokens this way was incorrect, but finally, Do Kwon was caught yet again. Together with his associate, he tried to leave Montenegro using fake documents at the airport. Admittedly, their choice of destination was also interesting. They aimed to get to Dubai, but instead of breathtaking views and luxury, they got a 30-day temporary detention, after which our antagonists were sentenced to 4 months in prison for using forged documents. In June of 2023, they managed to transfer to house arrest on a relatively low bail. Again in June, it was revealed that even after his arrest in Montenegro, Do Kwon withdrew nearly $35 million, and there was evidence that he basically supported local politicians. As you can see, it's quite a complicated and evolving story. In June of 2024, however, Terraform Labs and Kwon reached a settlement with the American SEC, agreeing to pay out about $4.5 billion in civil penalties. Kwon personally agreed to pay at least $200 million from his own pocket. Ultimately, after many legal twists and turns, in December of 2024, Montenegrin authorities approved his extradition to the United States. On December 31st of 2024, Kwon was handed over to American law enforcement and transported to New York. The next day, he appeared in court, where he was charged with, among other things, fraud related to security and commodities and money laundering. Of course, he believes he's not guilty. Building something out of nothing is no easy feat, but building almost $60 billion Ponzi scheme out of nothing is a whole different ballgame. Along the way, it sank tens of thousands of people and 2 major hedge funds, and its creator ultimately ended up in courtroom. So what exactly was Terra Luna? What was the catch? And what caused its downfall? Let's revisit Do Kwon for a moment. I mentioned that during his career, he took note of the idea of stablecoins on someone else's project. What are stablecoins anyway? anyway? In short, UST, known as US Terra, was supposed to firmly hold the value of $1, which is commonly referred to as maintaining the peg. Why go through such trouble? Wouldn't it be better for the crypto to rise in value? That's when everyone rejoices in profit, right? It's not that simple. Take Bitcoin as an example. Its price is constantly subject to ups and downs, shifting in fractions of a second. A stablecoin keeps a fixed value, say this $1 for example, enabling it to be practically used as a payment method in the real world, like for buying pizza delivery. It's simpler to pay with 5 Terra coins than with 0.003 Bitcoin, assuming the price doesn't change in the next second. Speaking of pizza delivery and Bitcoin, here's a little tidbit that perfectly illustrates this whole point. The first commercial transaction involving the largest cryptocurrency was exchanging it for 2 Papa John's pizzas in 2010. Guy named Laszlo was among the first Bitcoin miners enthusiasts, and he posted on a forum that he'd offer 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 large pizzas. The transaction succeeded, and Laszlo proudly shared a photo showing that the pizzas contained no pineapple. That's the first clue that Laszlo doesn't make particularly good decisions. At the time, these pizzas were worth about $41. Laszlo has every reason to regret it though. Today, 10,000 Bitcoins are worth astronomical sums, and even Tesla doesn't have that many Bitcoins in their wallet. And that's exactly where stablecoins come into play. However, I can't just create Procyon coin, declare it's worth $1 and that's all. Ensuring a stable value for such a stablecoin usually requires some form of backing. As the name indicates, to guarantee a stability, stablecoins typically have some sort of support from another payment medium that can be referenced to, for example, a dollar. It could be as well another fiat currency, like the mentioned dollar or the euro, or even gold or other precious metals. In other words, stablecoins typically have some kind of backing. Do Kwon knew, however, that to create his stablecoin, he'd need really large funds that could serve as backing for the future Terra, but he found a way around that problem. The solution was an algorithmic stablecoin, relying on a mechanism that balanced USD around $1. And now let's pause briefly for a short educational interlude that'll be useful in a moment. The first concept is minting cryptocurrencies. In olden times, coins had to be struck and forged to be valid for trade. Minting is like the blacksmithing of our era, a term for creating new cryptocurrency coins through data authentication. The second term is burning cryptocurrencies. Once a token is in circulation, it can't truly be removed, so burning crypto means sending it to a dedicated wallet address to which no one has access. They go to that black hole for a well-deserved retirement. That's all for this mini lesson. Hopefully it didn't wear you out. As a short break, let's watch some kittens. Okay, moving on. As mentioned, UST's value was balanced using arbitrage, buying an asset on one market and then selling it on another at a higher price. This allowed for profit from the price difference. In this case, arbitrage was carried out by minting or burning the coin that secured Terra's stablecoin. And now we come to our sweet treat, the Luna cryptocurrency itself. It was previously released Luna that ensured UST's value and was used for arbitrage. Arbitrageurs, as these investors are called, performed advantageous transactions depending on the current UST exchange rate in order to profit. If the stablecoin was worth less than $1, arbitrageurs could buy UST, burn it, then mint Luna and sell it at a higher price. This lowered UST's value because more Luna appeared in circulation, supply and demand at work. Going in the opposite direction, if the stablecoin was worth more than $1, arbitrageurs could buy Luna, burn it, then mint UST, selling it at a higher price. This raised UST's value because Luna was leaving circulation. Phew, we've gotten through the more technical piece. I hope you followed.
Now for something more fun. Do you like making money? Then how could you make a fortune on a Luna and quit your job the next day?
And the profit was made when new investors put money into Terra's ecosystem by buying UST, which then boosted Luna's value. Part of that profit naturally went to arbitrageurs who maintained the peg near $1. Of course, that mechanism also worked the other way. If investors sold their UST, Luna's price would fall due to increased supply. So how could you earn money from holding Luna long term? Besides straightforward speculation on a rising Luna price, investors who believed in the cryptocurrency kept it for future practical applications. However, it had another important utility as well.
It was in the creator's best interest to keep the stablecoin stable as long as possible, or at least to finalize the real-world payment ecosystem. To achieve this, Do Kwon somehow had to entice potential investors to get his business rolling. And the solution was staking.
Without going into excruciating detail, staking involves locking up some cryptocurrency so it can do the work. For example, ensure transaction liquidity in the ecosystem, for which stakers receive their profit. In this case, the scheme was based on Anchor, which offered almost 20% returns to long-term investors who locked up their UST. Can you imagine that? Which saving accounts offer you over 15% of return these days? It was pure madness. Note that at that time, competing stablecoins offered similar staking options, but typically their reward rate was around 10% at most. This difference drew in a massive crowd of investors, and with them, huge sums of money. At the height of its popularity, when the total circulation of Terra was around 18 billion USD, about 15 billion of those were locked up in Anchor. Paying out nearly 20% returns on such a sum sounds almost impossible. Where was the money supposed to come from? And did Do Kwon ever plan on paying what he owed the investors?
US Terra wasn't the first coin to attempt this model. Sister projects of this type were tested before, such as the Titan stablecoin, which was for example backed by none other than a billionaire Mark Cuban, whom you may know from the show Shark Tank. It's estimated he put over $2.5 million into this project, only to end up with nothing, when Titan plunged from $60 all the way to zero. And because of how Titan worked, it was called
The year is 1990. A man opens an envelope, but it's not the letter that catches his eye. Inside, he finds an International Reply Coupon, ERC. This slip of paper could be exchanged for a postage stamp and was included by the sender to cover the return postage cost for the recipient, since actual cash couldn't be inserted into mail. It was the man's first contact with such a coupon, and he immediately saw financial potential in it. The slip had fixed value when finally redeemed, yet its purchase price highly varied depending on the market. For example, in Italy, due to weak currency at the time, you could buy the coupon cheaply and then sell it at a higher price in the US. Though not large, the profit margin didn't bother the man. After all, scale might make a big difference here. The process was fully legal, and the idea was very simple and seemingly profitable. What could go wrong? Well, the cost of the entire operation, along with the potential revenue, didn't add up. However, the man only realized this after setting up a dedicated company, Securities Exchange Company. But that didn't stop him from chasing the big money he so desired. If it looked brilliant on paper, there had to be a way to make it work. At that point, he crossed over to the dark side, opting to abandon the legality of his venture. Thus, the notorious Ponzi scheme was born. Charles Ponzi, the future financial swindler, based his plan on the nicely packaged concept of large-scale ERC arbitrage, therefore attracting many investors. Our antagonist may not have been the best salesman, but he knew how to sway others. The promise was high returns in a short time, with minimal risk, of course. Investors lured in by Ponzi gave him their money to carry out the plan of bringing ERC coupons from Europe to the US. What he hid from them was the transport cost that completely undermined the profitability of this whole endeavor, not to mention the fact that there simply weren't enough ERC coupons in circulation for it ever to scale. On paper, the funds theoretically went to the original goal of the company. In reality, however, Ponzi kept part of it for himself and used the remainder to pay back investors their promised cyclical returns. He even had the audacity to encourage them to reinvest their profits as well. An important note is that Ponzi also forged reports which ruled investors into
into a false sense of security. The bubble grew with each new participant in the scheme, but as we know, every blown-up balloon eventually bursts, either through bankruptcy when one of the investors want to withdraw their money or when no fresh participant join anymore. As you can probably guess by now, this entire operation was highly illegal. Ponzi, after living his high life, during which he could earn up to $250,000 a day, far higher sum today, he landed in prison soon.
What do Ponzi and Do Kwon's investors have in common? Faith.
Some believe in gods, others in flying spaghetti monsters, yet others in that one man promising them the proverbial pie in the sky. Algorithmic stablecoins are kind of a game. A well-coordinated game of convincing people that something with no inherent right to have value, the keyword is right, actually does have value. If we all collectively assume that Luna is valuable, it can be used to back UST, making it look like a real currency for day-to-day payments. As long as that faith remains among enough people, the money machine keeps churning. Many believe Terra Luna was a Ponzi scheme, and it's hard not to see certain parallels. You have investor deposits lured in by promises of quick profits, a plan that relies on more lunatics joining the project with their capital, and the entire concept behind the cryptocurrency. How else can you describe a payment method backed by speculation and believe that someday it will become something real?
Do Kwon frequently referred to using UST in real-world applications via the Chai app, which facilitates online payments. But it turned out that even this promise was fake, because supposedly these transactions were happening using traditional means and were only artificially mirrored on the blockchain. If you're seeing parallels with Ponzi ERC coupons and his falsified reports, then you're on a right track. The events of May 2022 weren't Do Kwon's first tango with DPEG. A year earlier, in May of 2021, UST dipped from $1 to just about 90 cents, which could have been equally catastrophic.
At that time, Terra Labs was collaborating closely with Jump Crypto under some undisclosed agreements. The SEC, in the course of its investigation, concluded that Do Kwon and Jump Crypto had some sort of agreement to artificially restore UST to $1. In return for buying 100 million worth of UST, Jump Crypto was supposedly granted the removal of certain contractual clauses, which likely entitled them to additional Luna tokens. Although both parties deny these events, such a transaction did occur at that time. This incident didn't stop Terra Labs or Do Kwon from trying to spin a potential harmful occurrence into a sort of success. The 2021 DPEG was labeled a black swan, an unpredictable, rare event that significantly impacts the entire market. Terra Labs marketed its survival of the incident as a live test for their stablecoin, and restoring the peg was touted as proof of the advantages of an algorithmic system over decisions made under stress during high market volatility. Again, Charles Ponzi's name comes to mind with his brazen manipulation of facts.
We can break down this fall into two stages. The first one remains somewhat mysterious given the technology of blockchain, and the second one is a textbook example of a death spiral, which we'll get to in a moment.
Nansen, an analytics company and research platform specializing in blockchain data analysis, conducted an investigation into the transactions and activities on blockchain networks to pinpoint the wallets and events contributing to UST's destabilization. Before we proceed, here's another quick educational snippet that will come in handy soon. Curve is a popular platform for traders and investors who want to trade or provide liquidity in Ethereum-related markets. It features liquidity pools, large collections of tokens locked in smart contracts. Luckily, you don't need to know what these contracts are, so let's continue. These pools help investors easily swap their tokens. Here's a loose analogy. You have 1000 apples and 1000 tangerines. One apple is worth the same as one tangerine, so the pool has an equal amount of both fruits. If someone named John comes in and swaps 100 apples for 100 tangerines, the pool ends up with 900 apples and 1100 tangerines. The balance therefore changes, making it more profitable for someone else to swap tangerines for apples to restore the balance.
That's all. Are you with me? Let's move on.
It all started in March of 2023 when mysterious mysterious deposits were spotted on Curve, originating from different sources, totaling over $60 million. Possibly someone was testing the waters, how the stablecoin would behave and how liquidity might shift, while preparing for further moves concerning USD's stability. Nansen identified 7 wallets that made significant moves in early May. Does that mean it was definitely a coordinated attack planned perhaps by the creators of the Celsius crypto who stood to gain from Terra's downfall? Or maybe Do Kwon ticked someone off on Twitter? The answer depends on who you ask. Nansen's verdict was that it came down to independent financial decisions by several well-funded entities, perhaps aiming to mitigate risks. After all, actions on the blockchain are visible to everyone, and real-time analysis can guide investors' decisions. Our starting point is on the Curve platform and these liquidity pools. A battle is about to be waged, not with soldiers, mind you, but with real money. The fight is for inflows and outflows from the liquidity pools. It began innocently when one wallet linked to the Luna Foundation Guard, the entity that was meant to support the protocol's stability and liquidity, withdrew 150 million USD. 13 minutes later, a mysterious wallet created just before the transaction deposited 85 million USD, swapped it for Tether, another stablecoin, and transferred it to Coinbase. 4 more wallets jumped into the fray, one linked to Celsius, Terra's rival, depositing a total of 105 million USD into the liquidity pool. If there's an attack, there must be a defense. LFG and related wallets, which were defending the peg, countered this attack by withdrawing nearly 190 million USD. By the way, do these numbers sound astronomical to you? The idea that someone's throwing them around so casually feels surreal. Either way, the battle raged on until the following morning. Nansen's analysis discovered that on May 7th and 8th, a total of 18 wallets accounted for over 3/4 of the USD inflows to Curve. What outcome might the attackers have been aiming for? Destabilizing the liquidity pool, causing discrepancies between various pricing sources, both Curve and other crypto exchanges. The wallets involved likely exploited these discrepancies, taking buy-sell positions across centralized and decentralized exchanges. The next push towards Luna's downfall came from an investor who had the largest inflow out of the Anchor instrument. From May 7th to May 10th, he conducted 8 transactions, withdrawing over 347 million USD. And this move was noticed by other big players. And then 20 of the most profitable wallets in Anchor collectively withdrew almost 2 billion of USD in over 5,000 transactions. Meanwhile, USD first slipped below $1. The whole scenario didn't faze Do Kwon, who joked on May 8th via Twitter that the peg wasn't happening and that USD would be back to normal in just 7 days. I mean, that's pretty funny. In hindsight, it's downright comical. On May 9th, USD kept plummeting. Investors in Luna sensed instability on the horizon. Many wanted to get rid of not only their staked USD in Anchor, but all of the cryptocurrencies from Terra. Over 5 billion in USD was unstaked and promptly sold off in panic. This is where we arrive at the second stage of the crash, the death spiral. The falling USD price due to arbitrage increased the supply of Luna, causing its price to drop. This is some sort of deja vu. How did the common folks react to the 2008 stock market crash? They panicked. The outcome of that panic was a bank run, where a large number of people withdrew their bank deposits, fearing a total loss. Such a move can lead to a bank's collapse. So now you can probably guess where this is heading. By May 11th, over 11 billion USD was pulled out of Anchor. The death spiral kept tightening until it finished the cryptocurrency off. What's interesting is that along the way, there were many thrill seekers hoping Luna would bounce back, buying up tokens despite the peg continuing its fall, just like in the story I mentioned at the start of this video. The following day, Terra halted its blockchain for 9 hours, and Binance did the same, with Luna as the token hit its lowest lows, though it later resumed trading. Nothing looked as promising as it had just a couple of weeks earlier. Do Kwon finally raised the white flag, announcing a plan to revive the project. As I mentioned before, it didn't take long to create some sort of attempt to revive this project. On May 28, 2023, Terra 2.0 was launched, this time notably without an algorithmic stablecoin. The hard fork split the Terra blockchain into Terra Classic, labeled LANC, previously Luna, while the new chain contained the new Luna, labeled Luna. Stick with me, it's not that confusing. People who held Luna and UST received new Luna in proportion to their previously held assets. And how did the new token fare? Not so great, I'd say. They tried to revive the entire project, but eventually the company behind Luna, Terraform Labs, declared bankruptcy, and by the end of September 2024, it basically ceased normal operations. At the time, the company opened a claims portal for investors harmed by the collapse of the Terra UST stablecoin. The portal went live just recently on March 31st, 2025, and the deadline for filling application is April 30th, 2025. Investors must register on the portal and provide proof of asset ownership, such as APA keys or other confirming documents in exchange for potential compensation. It should be noted, though, that not all assets qualify. For example, Luna 2.0 or Terra 2.0 and cryptocurrencies with liquidity under $100 are excluded from the compensation process. Terraform Labs estimates that the total compensation for investors may range from $180 to $420 million. However, given the enormous losses from the Terra ecosystem crash, in which altogether around $45 billion was lost, many investors might only recoup a fraction of their initial investment. Take care on the internet. Thank you for watching.